Welcome to the part 2 of this tutorial. In this video we'll be drafting the second pattern, which is the pattern with the extra hips. Okay, yes, so what you are going to do is to get a new pattern paper and get your first pattern and place on the new pattern paper and just mark out the shape of the first pattern on this second pattern. Okay, we are just going to be altering the measurement of this skirt just at the hip and at the underbutt. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. Just mark out the size of the pattern. Remember I said this second pattern is the pattern that's going to carry the extra hips that we marked or that we have or that we are going to be padding. So this is the pattern we'll be using to draft our skirt, this second pattern, and this is the pattern therefore that will carry all the allowances that we need. Okay, so I'm just going ahead to secure those points: my waist, my hip, my underbutt, my knee length, and my skirt length. Okay, so I'm securing it because I'm going to be extending the lines to add my hips and allowances. Okay, so go ahead and mark or label so that you don't get confused. Okay, so just confirming the length so that I'll have a concise marking. Okay, so all our markings are ready. Now the next thing I'm going ahead is to for the hip allocation to the figure I had there, which is 10.75, I went ahead to mark it, and from what you can see, it added by, I have extra half of an inch. Okay, so I'm just going to connect it down to my waist. Okay, and then I'll also blend it to the underbust. Okay, so that same half inch, I'll take it to the underbutt, I'll mark the same thing and then blend it to the length of my skirt. So please take note that that extra addition is done just at the hip and at the underbutt, and then everything blends down to your skirt. Down, that's for downwards, and upwards it blends into your waist. Okay, so that is what we have. And the next thing I went ahead to do is to add my sewing allowances. I used 1 inch sewing allowance all through. Okay, so that's what I'm going to add by the sides, and there you have it. And then also for the length of the skirt, I also added sewing allowance at the edge. I added 1.5 inch. Please feel free to add whatever sewing allowance works for you. Go ahead and connect the markings that you have. Okay, another thing, if you're watching carefully, I would also like that you watch the way I place my ruler. Okay, where I use the curves and where I use the straight part of the ruler. Okay, and be sure to blend all your points. We don't want any sharp edges, as I earlier said. Okay, that's the hemming allowance for the skirt. I'm adding at the length of the skirt. I added 1.5 inch. Please, if you have not watched previous videos that led us to this point, I ensure you watch it. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe and do not forget to turn on your notification bell so you get notified when I drop my new content. Okay, so everything said and done, what is left is to cut the skirt. And there we have it. Our front pattern is ready. The next thing I'm going to do is to place this pattern, the back pattern, for the first marking. Okay, or for the first hip allocation, or for our original hip, whichever way. I have the back pattern as well placed on a piece of paper, okay, and I'm just trying to align it because I just flipped over the paper, and since it's the marker appeared at the other side, I'm just trying to align it to the lines, okay, so I don't so that I don't have too many lines on the paper. So that's what I'm trying to do, marking out the lines as shown as seen in the paper. Okay, so take note of the allowances I left, okay. As we proceed in the video, you see where it's necessary that we use those allowances. Okay, now look at what I'm doing for the back pattern. The second hip, for the back hip, we had 12.25, so I went ahead from that point, as you saw me do, I went ahead to mark it as well. So it's just like adding ½ inch for every part, okay, since I'm just adding. Remember, when you add ½ inch to a dress, times it by 4, it gives you 2 inches, and I'm adding 2 inches to my hip, so that's why I'm having ½ inch all around. The same way we added for the front is the same way you just do to the back. Blend it to the waist and blend it down to the skirt, as you can see me do. Okay, so just ensure that you add those allowances by the side and blend it as so. Now for the allowances, I also added for the back 1 inch, but take note, for this pattern paper I did not add my zipper allowance, okay. I prefer to add that on the skirt, so I added my zipper allowance and my slit allowance on the skirt while I was cutting, okay. So just stay tuned and you see how I did that. If you're lost at any point, I'll advise you play the video over and over again so that you will have a better understanding. Now, by that butt side, by the butt we created, I just added a ¼ inch. Okay, so this is important so that it will help us join that area without losing our created butt. Okay, so just add a ¼ inch round there. I use the ¼ inch because I sew on ¼ inch, but if you sew on ½ inch, please add your sewing allowance all around it as you see me do, and do not forget to also add the hemming allowance at the base of your skirt. Okay, we have that done. Just to extend the lines and everything, confirm if there are any pointed edges, blend it in, and then you're good to go. You can go ahead and cut your skirt. So can you see how simple this is? It's nothing complicated. It's just for you to, mark 2 patterns. The first one with your original hip, the second one with the extra hips that you intend to achieve when you are done padding. Okay, so it's something you can actually use one pattern for, but since this is a tutorial for better understanding, I advise that you do 2 patterns, okay, so that you don't get confused, so that you are not misled at the end of the day. So if this is your first time, it's safer that you draft 2 patterns. But if you have a good grip on this, you can actually use 1 pattern, get it modified on your material before you go ahead and remove your hip from the original pattern. Okay, so here we go, our patterns are ready. And can you see how simple this is? I try to use a simple method so that we don't get confused. So our second pattern is ready. This is what we'll be drafting on our fabric. Okay, the first pattern will be removing our hip pads, and that is what we'll be doing in the next video. Okay, so make sure you stay tuned and anticipate the next video. I'll see you. Bye.